Hi guys, I'm Max Weinbach with XDA and today I'm going to review the Xiaomi Mi 9, the best budget flagship you can get right now. Let's get started. Before we get into all the details in the actual review, I just want to list out some specs and performance and price tidbits. This phone is Gorilla Glass 6. It has a Snapdragon 855, 6.4-inch display. It's 1080p. It's an AMOLED display. Has an optical in-display fingerprint scanner. 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, 3300 milliamp hour battery. 3 cameras: a 48 megapixel, a 12 megapixel, and a 16 megapixel. 16 is ultra wide. 12 megapixels telephoto. 48 is just the main shooter. 20 megapixel front camera, and a 3300 milliamp hour battery. Snapdragon 855. Basic specs, yeah, it's what you'd expect as a bare minimum for a 2019 flagship. It starts around $510 for this specific model with 64 gigs of RAM and 64 gigabytes of storage and 6 gigabytes of RAM. There is a 128 gigabyte version, which is a bit more. But base model starts around $510 in the US on eBay right now, because it's not officially sold in the US. Now, when we're getting into actual performance numbers here, that's where things get a little bit interesting. It's good. It's really good. That's the interesting part. It's what you would expect from a 2019 flagship, especially with the performance and specs you're getting. Snapdragon 855, whatever. I'm not going to get into all of that, but if you want a really detailed analysis, Adam Conway on the XDA portal has his full review with everything that you would want, and specifically the performance numbers. Essentially, to sum it up, it's fast, it's fast and has good frame rates in games. Okay, now let's get into the actual review part of this review. So I'm going to go from front to back and just tell you guys everything about it. So let's start off with the display right now. The display is a 6.4-inch 1080p plus display from Samsung. It's slightly above 1080p because of the aspect ratio, so it is, again, 1080p plus. It is good, it is clear, it is crisp, it is bright. It does support HDR, which is a nice addition. So if you're watching something on Netflix, or I don't believe actually Netflix does support HDR on this phone, but if you're watching something on YouTube or a movie that you have downloaded, you can watch it in HDR. It does not support HDR10 recording though, which is a little bit of a bummer, but again, you have to compare price to features, which it does really well at. The display is not the best display in the world. I wouldn't expect it in a phone that costs bare minimum $510. Because if you want the best display in the world, you're going to have to spend $900 plus. And that's just a little bit extreme if you're going just for display. So this display, it'll meet everyone's needs. It gets bright. You can see it perfectly in bright sunlight. No problem reading text. You can't really see the pixels unless you look very closely. Now to actually get to the in-display fingerprint scanner, it's down here. It is optical. It is fast. This fingerprint scanner is the same, I believe it is the same one that you find in the P30 Pro or OnePlus 6T. To me, it seems a little bit slower than those, and that could just be Xiaomi's software, but that can always be improved. I'm going to say it's a little bit slow, a little bit inaccurate. It's not as fast as the S10 Plus or as the OnePlus 6T, but it is still good. It is by no means bad. But I would have liked to see something a little bit faster. Maybe that can be fixed up in software, and that'd be nice. It does also have facial recognition, but no fancy time-of-flight sensor. This is all front-facing camera. Don't expect it to be super secure, but it is pretty fast. So before we get into the camera part of this review, I want to go through some things I don't find to be the most important parts of this phone, but are important nonetheless. First off, we have a single mono-firing speaker at the bottom. That's fine. I mean, it's good. It's not the best speaker I've ever heard, but, it's good enough. It's clear, it's crisp, but at high volumes, it does get a little bit of distortion. That's fine. It doesn't have stereo speakers, but the earpiece speaker is good. So when you're making a phone call, it's clear. I have no complaints with that. When I was on the phone, though, the people I was talking to did say these microphones sounded a bit bad. It wasn't amazing sounding microphone, which, by the way, in the camera part of this video, you will hear the microphone is not very good. It's relatively bad. The next part is the AI button. This does have an AI button on the side over here. You can remap it to whatever you want, but by default, it opens Google Assistant. I like that. I like Google Assistant, so I use it. Sometimes I actually forget it exists or try to use it as a volume rocker, but it's there. What are you going to do about it? Might as well be Google Assistant instead of something like Bixby. Now, let's get into the all-important camera, because, you know, people buy phones for cameras now. Let's start off with the front-facing camera. It has a single 20-megapixel camera at the front. It is a teardrop notch, so it's small. It's very small. It's a very small notch. It's good. It's a good front-facing camera. The pictures from it did look a little bit like they were going through a lot of skin toning, but I'm just going to put up the picture right now, which is a normal selfie. And then right now, which is a portrait selfie. I'm going to let you guys decide what you think about the pictures because I don't really want to force my opinions onto you. But I do have to say the portrait selfie does have some issues with my hair, which is generally a bit messy. So that's excused, is only using software. Now going to the back cameras, we have three. Top one up here is a 48 megapixel main shooter. It uses pixel binning to get you down to 12 megapixel photos, but it does have an option to take 48 megapixel pictures. The 12 megapixel pictures, again, I'm not going to really go through and say what I do and don't like about them. I'm just going to put it up and you guys can decide on your own. But the 12 megapixel picture, which is up right now, it's fine. It seems it's a little bit dark for my taste, but you can easily fix that in an app like Snapseed. Then the 48 megapixel picture, which is up right now, it's as well fine. It's a little less colorful than the 12 megapixel one, but it is what it is. Now, let's get into another picture. This one right now is 12 megapixels using HDR. I took it straight into the sun, and it does handle the sunlight pretty well. It is, again, pretty dark. It's not using pixel software, so it's not a, HDR madman, but it's definitely really good. That 48 megapixel sensor is made by Sony, and Sony does make essentially the best camera sensors. Next, we have the 12 megapixel telephoto. It's 2x zoom. Honestly, I can't really see a difference between this and just digital zoom, but I'll put it up for you guys right now. It does look pretty clear. It's a decent picture. I mean, it is what it is at this point. Now, when we get over to the wide-angle lens, this is a 16 megapixel ultra-wide angle. The reason I use the air quotes there is because, well, it doesn't feel very wide to me. I've been using the Galaxy S10 for a bit, and that is a very wide angle. It's about 123 degrees. I do believe the Mi 9 is a 107 degree wide angle lens, which just feels small at this point. It definitely gets more into the shot, but it doesn't get enough, in my opinion. I would have liked to see something around 120 degrees, something around there, because that is very wide. This picture, which I'm putting up right now, does have minimal distortion for the wide angle, and it does have pretty good HDR. This is using the AI mode to recognize the scene, so it does get a little bit of a color boost in there as well. Now for video. Video's it's a little bit of an issue here. The microphone is just outright horrible on it. That needs to be fixed in the Mi 10 or Mi Mix 3S or Mi Mix 4. It needs to be fixed in their next flagship phone. Something this bad is just unacceptable. You can say the price, but it's just unacceptable for the price you're spending. It is bad. I don't think they can fix this with software, but it is just really, really bad. Now I'm actually going to switch over to videos to let you know about it.
So I'm just outside in my backyard here, doing a front-facing video test. I can't really see it because it's really bright right now, but let me know what you guys think of this front-facing video. It does feel pretty stable. My hand is pretty stable, though, while walking, so I don't think it's going to be bad at all. This is 1080p. There's no 4K option. It's 1080p, 30 FPS. Also, the microphones. Oh boy, the microphones get bad. It's not super windy, so there is not much noise cancellation though. Now for rear video, I am filming right now in 4K 30 FPS, and let me just walk around a little. Again, let me know how the microphones are. It is not super windy, so I wouldn't expect anything to be super horrible. It's a bit muddy in my backyard here. Now let me just run a little, and we can test out the stabilization on the 4K mode. Oh, it's definitely muddy. You can probably see, stabilization is not super amazing, but it's definitely there. Yeah, so again, let me know how the microphone quality sounds and how the stabilization and everything is.
The last thing to talk about is software. I assume most of you guys know about the software on it. It's MIUI 10. It's pretty basic software. It looks like iOS, but it's Android. It has some bugs. It has a lot of ads, which should really hopefully be dealt with at some point. They did say MIUI 11 was going to be fixing a bunch of stuff, and I am excited to check that out, hoping that they redo the user interface. The thing about the Xiaomi phone, though, is this has huge ROM support and huge developer community. At the time of recording this, I didn't really check to see if there were any ROMs, as I'm not in the 15-day unlock period. But any GSI running the April security patch and up will have in-display fingerprint scanner support in the GSI. And I know there's a lot of hate around GSIs, but you know what? They do what they're supposed to. One system image can run on essentially every phone I have with no problems. And for a GSI to get support for the in-display fingerprint scanner and the notch on the OnePlus 6 and work on the Pixel with everything working on every phone is incredible. It's just great. So one system, just as a little example here, one system image runs on this phone. It runs on my S10 Plus, runs on my Pixel 3 XL, runs on my OnePlus 6. On the OnePlus 6, I get high brightness mode. I get a fingerprint scanner and I get notch support. On the Pixel 3, I get all of that as well. On my S10 Plus, once the support is added for it, I'll get stereo speakers and everything on that same GSI. And I get in-display fingerprint scanner and everything working on here. That is just insane that one system image can do all of that. Another thing to note, though, is that this can run the official Android Q GSI, but it's going to be buggy. Android Q GSIs haven't been super stable yet because, well, there's only been about 2 of them. So I don't expect it to be amazing right now, but around Google I/O in May, we might see a little bit more, and we might see official Android Q support. Hopefully we do. But otherwise, this has a great developer community, and if you're looking, I mean, we are XDA developers. If you're looking for it for custom ROMs with just good hardware, totally go for it. I mean, it's great. Now, I just want to kind of summarize this for you guys and make myself clear. It might seem like I don't like the Mi 9. Like, I think it's a lot worse and you shouldn't get it. No, not at all. I think this is probably the best phone you can get for the money. It's great in gaming, great performance, fast, good enough cameras, good enough speakers, good enough display. Everything is good. I would say get it if you're looking for a new phone. The OnePlus 7's coming out really soon. You might want to wait for that, though. Don't know about it yet, but it seems cool. There haven't been many leaks, which is kind of surprising. But back to the Mi 9, get it if you're looking at it. If you're interested in it and you want good developer support, good hardware, fast, everything to be good or good enough, go for it. I'm all for it. Seriously, it's really nice. But if you are willing to spend a little bit extra money, of course you can find something better. I mean, you have the S10 Plus, you have the S10e, which is like 240 more. There are better for more, but for the price you're spending, there's not anything better. This is the best phone for the price right now. And to be honest, I love it. Has great feel, great display, and it's the best phone. It competes hand in hand with the Galaxy S10. It's great. Seriously, I do really like it. If you're interested in getting it, I am going to link it down in the description below. Also, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think of the Mi 9, and if you have one, or if you're going to think about getting one.